Thank you, Nicole. I'm Brent Setchell with the Florida Department of Transportation. I'm the District 1 Drainage Design Engineer. And today I'm going to be talking about FDOT wildlife crossing retrofits. On the agenda today we have wildlife crossing bridge designs, wildlife crossing retrofits, some lessons learned, and at the end I'd like to showcase the FDOT GIS wildlife bridge crossings. So the first up, we have an example project. This is along State Road 80 over the C1 Canal. In this particular case, we were replacing the existing bridge with a new bridge, and we're able to lengthen the bridge to be able to provide wildlife shelves on both sides. We also added fencing to help funnel wildlife to the crossing. In this particular case, we added 8-foot wide dry shelves on both sides. In the plan view, you can see the shelves on both sides of the canal. And I have a quick video then showcasing the completed project. So you can see we used Quikrete bags to form the shelves on both sides. And then you can see the fencing here that we used to funnel the wildlife to the crossing. There you can see the fencing on the far side. And after several months, vegetation has grown up, making it a more natural feel. Here we have a bobcat using the crossing. And then here are a couple of Florida Panther, the endangered Florida Panther, that are also utilizing this crossing. In this picture, you can see the wildlife shelf below, and then the fencing that we utilize to funnel the wildlife. So here we place them in the median to help make sure they don't come up the embankment and go, try to make it out onto the roadway. And on the far side, you can see the wildlife fencing that runs along the road to help, again, funnel wildlife to the crossing. So some of the lessons learned on this one is there's several different shelf designs that you can utilize. In the bottom picture, you can see we used the Quikrete bags, which is what we did in that example. We've also had success with the top picture where we've utilized just a stabilized subgrade, and then we used one Quikrete bag at the end and then provided a kind of a natural soil layer on top of that to provide the wildlife crossing. And that one bag kind of holds the sand material in place in case you get any larger storm events. Additionally, certainly the wildlife fencing helps improve funneling to the crossing. And then we also need to make sure we provide man gates in order to perform routine maintenance and inspections of the bridges, and so that we can monitor the bridges make it easier to monitor the bridges for wildlife. And finally, this is a fairly easy retrofit to accommodate the longer bridge into your designs. So much so that we've added it into our design manuals that it's required now for any new bridges, any bridge replacements, that we must consider wildlife connectivity features with any new bridge design. So now we're going to talk about some problems with existing bridges. Florida has more than 9,000 bridges which cross natural areas or waterways. Of those, FDOT maintains more than 3,600 of them. Rubble riprap abutments are difficult for wildlife to traverse. Specifically, hoofed animals, deer and hogs, are not able to cross. Fabriform riprap also has similar issues. You can see in this graphic the rubble riprap abutment is very steep and tough to navigate. And so what happens is deer, in this case, or wildlife, are forced to go out into the canal due to the lack of an upland passage bench. And you can see even when the water dries out, there's hidden dangers with the rubble kind of mixed in with the natural bottom. Here's another example where the rubble riprap has slid down the slope and kind of blocked that kind of natural bench area that wildlife would normally use to traverse. Here's another picture again where the vines and grass cover the voids, making it difficult to traverse the area there. People and wildlife both have a tough time finding their footing. Here's an example of a good scenario where we have there's an existing natural bench in this area, making it fairly easy for wildlife to traverse. And again, here's a large floodplain area where, again, it makes it a nice open area for wildlife to be able to utilize. Obviously, this isn't available on all bridges, but it'd be nice if we could do this on more frequently. Here's an example of a retrofit project. We got a request in from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission to retrofit two existing bridge crossings along Alligator Alley in Collier County, Florida. You can see in the pictures there's the steep rubble riprap abutments that are difficult to traverse. And so we used wildlife cameras to monitor this prior to the retrofit. And during a 2-minute span, we only captured a raccoon and a rat that were utilizing the crossing. We settled on a design in this case that used 3 Quikrete bags kind of stacked up, and then used a rebar to help pin them in place, and then used a lime rock to fill in behind the riprap. And so we also, concurrently with this project, we installed wildlife fencing both perpendicular to the crossing as well as parallel with the roadway leading up to this. So there was kind of 2 separate projects, but this project with the shelf design and the perpendicular fencing cost $272,000 back in 2017. And you can kind of see here during construction of what it consisted of with the Quikrete bags with the lime rock filling behind it. And then after construction, we reset those wildlife cameras and were able to capture a raccoon, possum, coyote, and even the elusive Florida panther utilizing the newly constructed crossing. We're very proud of this retrofit design and thankful for our partners in helping us with this. And here's a quick video then showcasing the wildlife utilizing the retrofit. You can see that's a Florida panther, really enjoying it. And here you can see a Florida black bear making his way off the rubber riprap abutment down to the pathway that we've created. Next, you may encounter a Fabriform bridge that uses slope protection, Fabriform slope protection. And here we're able to do a similar design where we've added the Quikrete bags, and then we're able to use flowable filling behind it to create the wildlife shelf. So some of the lessons learned was that moving the rubber riprap is very labor intensive, which means that it's expensive. It can be unsafe for workers to be moving the heavy boulders on the uneven embankment. And we've noticed that several of the Quikrete bags have shifted or fallen in areas where they're exposed to runoff near the face of the bridges. So we know we need a better plan. And so we worked on a new detail, and this is the design we've come up with. So the first thing we do is we use a gunite material, which is the same thing they use for swimming pools, which has a really thickness to it that we don't have to worry about running off into the water body below. And so we put in a 1-inch skim coat just to help fill in all the voids. And then we use a geotextile fabric material to help hold everything in place. And then finally, next we come in with a gunite base that's 3 inches thick that allows us to dowel in a form at the end here. You know, typically use a board form to help with the flowable fill, or if you use more of the gunite material, you don't have to worry about it again washing down into the water body with that form there. And so finally, again, you can use this poured concrete or the gunite material once you have that form in place. And then you can see we've actually designed in a lip here to again help hold in a 1-inch sand walking surface in place there for the wildlife. And so you can see this design, it's 3 foot wide, which is plenty large enough for just about all the wildlife we're trying to accommodate. In the plan view, again, depending on the velocities in the canal or creek or whatever you have below, in this particular case, we were worried about the velocities in the canal, so we added in these wedge footings that are spaced 10 foot apart. That'll help ensure that the pathway stays in place. So in the plane view here, again, you can kind of see we've added in these rebars that go down into the new walking pathway, and then we used a welded wire mesh to ensure that the concrete is stabilized, doesn't crack. And so again, here in this detail, you can see the rebar going through the rubber riprap and protruding through that to hold everything into place. And finally, I like to showcase FDOT District 1's monitoring program, where we have 14 motion activated trail cameras that are being used to monitor existing bridge crossings. We also have several NGO partners utilizing cameras to monitor FDOT bridges, and there's also some agencies and citizens groups that are also providing us pictures. And to date, we've collected over 5,000 pictures and videos of wildlife utilizing FDOT's existing crossings. And to be able to see all those, you can go to Google SWFL roads, and then once you click on that and go to the website here, you can click on the wildlife bridge crossings on the left-hand side. So again, you can Google SWFL roads, and it takes you to the, once you click on the home page, it takes you to the District 1 home page, and down here on the left-hand side, you can click on the wildlife bridge crossings, and it takes you to the FDOT Wildlife Bridge Crossings GIS website. And from here, you can click on any of the green dots that represents crossings that we've monitored, and you're able to find out information about the bridge, including the name, the location, the vertical clearance, the bridge length, whether there's wildlife fencing or not. But most importantly, you can click on the photo collection, and it links you to Google Photos, where you can see the wildlife that were captured utilizing the crossing. Just quickly click on another one here. Again, you can click on, read about the bridge type, click on the photo collection. You can scroll through the pictures. In this case, we have a video here. This is a mother black bear and a cub. And then the black dots represents kind of points of interest. They aren't necessarily wildlife crossings, but they're areas that we've monitored. And then over on the right-hand side, you can click on the Panther collision hotspots to see where panthers are most frequently hit by vehicles, as well as Florida panther mortality. And this is a great resource that we utilize to help us better understand and be able to protect the Florida panther and other wildlife.